evening. I would like to call to order the regular Thursday, March 5th meeting of the College Township Council. Would all those who are able please rise with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to acknowledge that we have an ambitious agenda tonight, and in the interest of being efficient and managing time tonight, I would ask that anyone participating in the meeting tonight be concise with their remarks. We'll start with public open discussion. Are there any members of the public who would like to address council at this time? Okay, next item. Are there any new agenda items from any of the council members present tonight to add to the agenda? Well, then we'll get right to special presentations. Mr. Moore, you're here to give us a presentation on the College Township Parks and Recs 2025 annual report.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Earl Moore. I am the current chair of the College Township Park and Recreation Committee. I'm here to give the 2025 annual report. I will try to be concise.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
First, I'd like to begin by recognizing Amy Kerner, Sharon Myers, and the College Township Public Works crew for their consistent support and contributions throughout the year. An overview of the Parks and Recreation Committee. We're composed of 7 long-serving community members with backgrounds in education, public service, environmental stewardship, and community leadership. Each member is assigned a specific park to oversee and contributes expertise that supports planning, maintenance, and community engagement. The committee's mission is to support College Township in providing high-quality parks and recreational opportunities for both residents and visitors. We work towards this mission by advising on the development of new parks and improvements of existing facilities, encouraging diverse recreational programs, supporting enhancements to pedestrian and bicycle access, providing guidance to council on the acquisition of parkland and recreational space. College Township has a population of over 11,000 people with a median age of 40 and a well-distribution across all age groups. These demographics characteristics help guide us on planning our priorities. Little historical context. College Township has a long-standing commitment to recreation and open space planning. In 1970, the township adopted the Center Region Comprehensive Plan, which incorporated park and open space goals and referenced the 1973 Center Region Parks and Open Space Plan. In 1985, the Parks and Recreation Committee created the first 5-year improvement plan to guide enhancements to township parks. And most recently, in 2023, the committee proposed updates to the township official map identifying current and future public lands and recreational facilities. College Township currently maintains 18 neighborhood parks, 6 regional parks, 3 natural areas, and 5.2 miles of off-street paths. Together, these areas total over 1,000 acres, and facilities include playgrounds, sports courts, trails, pavilions, natural areas, and scenic overlooks. Throughout the year, Parks and Recreation Committee remained actively engaged in reviewing development proposals, assessing community needs, and supporting ongoing improvements. Key accomplishments included reviewing open space plans for planned residential development and recommending considering population density in future ordinances, recommended incorporating parkland from Aspen Heights development into Slab Cabin Overlook Park, updated the committee's 5-year plan, conducted an annual park tour visiting Fieldstone Park and Slab Cabin Overlook. We toured Whitehall New Regional Park to gather ideas for future improvements. And we completed a joint service project with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We are, like I said, we're grateful for Amy and the Public Works and with their help, this year they did a lot of tree and shrub trimming, snow removal, and spring path sweeping. They helped repair the Corns Crossing boardwalk and tree trimming. They did an ADA path installation at Fieldstone, removed dead trees at Oak Grove. They did pavilion maintenance and table staining at Penn Hills. They did the pavilion roof replacement at Slab Cabin Park, even though we didn't have the money in the budget to do it. They did bench, trash receptacle, and bike rack installation at Slab Cabin Overlook. They cleared debris at Spring Creek Estates, and they did bike ramp installation at Thompson Woods Preserve. Also, this year, we did the court resurfacing and base installations of Spring Creek Park. Plans and challenges. Priorities moving forward include supporting land and easement acquisitions, increasing community engagement. And by the way, we're down a couple people on our crew, so if anybody in the public out there is interested in volunteering, we could use your help. Encouraging integration of parkland in new developments. Our most significant challenge remains updating and funding the annual 5-year capital plan. Currently, the 5-year capital plan for neighborhood parks includes park path resurfacing, Carnes Crossing steam bank improvements, GDK Meadow stormwater upgrades, Oak Grove path extension, Penn Hills play equipment and baseball field improvements, Fieldstone pavilion installation, and Oak Grove basketball court widening. Also, for the regional parks, we have the Daleview Pavilion upgrades, field grading and reseeding, Nifty Orchard gazebo refurbishment, Slab Cabin master plan and playground equipment, Spring Creek landscaping and walking paths, Fieldstone ADA path, Slab Cabin pavilion work, and continued support for Thompson Woods. And this is not everything in the plan, that's just the highlights. The current 5-year improvement plan list exceeds $700,000. While not all projects may be immediately funded, we appreciate Council's ongoing support through general funds and grants. And ending, I'd like to thank you for the continued support of Collin Township's Parks and Recreation System. That's it. Any questions?
Thank you very much. I'd like to open it up to members of council for comments or questions. Eric?
Hey, thanks, Earl. You know, as always, really appreciate the passion and the dedication that our Parks and Rec committee provides. I mean, it's really impressive. One more comment and a question. I'm really encouraged by the fact that there are things in the 5-year capital plan this year that go beyond just maintenance. You know, you heard us, I think, last year and the year before, and it looks like you've weaved some expansion, at least into the first year. Appreciate that. And then the question, I ask this, I think, every year. Any thought or discussion, I think this is Kathy's part, about at least striping the tennis courts at Spring Creek and Daleview for pickleball? Has that discussion ever come up?
We've had discussions about pickleball in the past. I'll be glad to bring it up at our next meeting next week. I'll have that added to our agenda. And I don't know why we can't. It sounds like a good idea. Pickleball is very big in this town, and I know a lot of people that play it.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty good return on investment, given, it seems, given the cost of striping versus you know, what you would get out of it. And you're right. It's growing in popularity. I hear about it all the time. So that's all I had. Thank you.
And I could say that I walk over there a lot with my dogs, and yes, the tennis courts do get a lot of use, but I've never really seen it so full that we couldn't do some other things there. Anything else?
Rich?
No, Earl, thank you. Congratulations on chair. You've got a quite seasoned committee there, but I'll echo your shameless plug for new members to help you fill out your important duty. And you guys do lead the region in Parks and Rec committees, so greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any members of staff with any questions or comments?
Honestly, I just wanted to say thanks, Earl. Continue to appreciate the work that the committee's doing and to look forward to continuing that relationship moving ahead.
Thank you.
And I would also like to say, a brief thank you. No, I would like to thank you. And you mentioned the work that you did in particular on the Burkentine plan and looking at open space and helping us look at that open space, and that was particularly important with this plan. And you know, I've been on the annual parks tour a few times, and it's always a really good experience as a member of council to see the work that you're doing and be out there with you. So it gives me a real appreciation for what you do, and really appreciate it. And thank you for taking the chair this year.
Oh, no problem.
And also, I'd like to thank Janet. I know she's not here, and I don't think she's online, but I would like to thank her for her last year of chair
Yes.
service, too, and her long service to the township.
Yes, I'd like to thank all of our members because many of them have 10 years or more experience on the committee.
Oh, and Sue is here, so. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Yes, and I'd like to thank the mayor. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you
night.
very much. All right, next we have plans. P1 plan is the PSU relocate existing bike path near Innovation Park. This is the preliminary final land development plan. It is an action item, and we have seen the sketch plan before. I believe that is to be presented by Lindsay?
That's me, yes.
Thank you.
All right, let me get my screen shared here. We also have representatives from Penn State this evening who can answer any specific questions tonight that you may have. Get my screen here.
You want me to grab it, Lindsay?
Yeah, maybe. I lost it, Mike. I'm sorry.
you're
I don't know
fine.
what happened.
I gotcha.
Thank you. So this is the ICA Bike Path Replacement Project. Penn State University is proposing the relocation of an existing bike path that connects from Innovation Park to some other lands of the University Park campus. This is located south and west of Interstate I-99 and in connecting those lands over to Innovation Park. This project's going to remove the existing 7 to 8 foot wide path and replace it with a new 12-foot wide trail surface aggregate bike path. This is purposely to avoid the Project Discovery, which is the ARL campus expansion, their development zone. This falls within the Big Hollow. It's currently generating about half an acre of new impervious surface. And as Susan noted, a sketch plan has been previously presented to council and the Planning Commission. Next slide, please. This is just an overview of the entire alignment. You can see there, the small white part is the impervious surface. The dark green is a vegetated filter strip, and the light green is impervious surface area. Next slide, please. The Planning Commission did see this Tuesday night, actually, and some of their questions or comments were about vehicular access and restrictions. They wanted to make sure that this is as limited use as possible for vehicular access. And they said that they're including landscape vehicles and some event transportation between Innovation Park and Beaver Stadium will be permitted on the path. They asked about delineations. The answer was there's currently no striping on the current path and no striping on the path is proposed. Winter maintenance and lighting, none is currently there, so none is currently being proposed. And signage was a question. Authorized motor vehicle only sign will be placed at the entrance gates And they noted that Penn State University Emergency Services will have the ability to bypass and unlock that gate. So with that, the Planning Commission did make a recommendation recommending council approve the Pennsylvania State University relocated existing bike path near Innovation Park preliminary final land development plan. And Rich Manning is here in case you have any questions beyond that.
Okay. I'll open up. Rich, do you have any questions or comments about this?
I don't. They presented this previously, so we got a conceptual idea of it and everything. I think they've addressed. The only thing I would offer, I think we shared at the previous meeting, a hope that someday they might look at asphalt so that it could be cleared in the winters and everything, because that's been a very well-received benefit in the community.
Okay, thank you. Eric, any questions or comments?
Now, just what Rich said, I will add that an increase in impervious coverage always goes down a lot easier when it's a bike or a multi-purpose path.
Okay.
Hey, but on that, on Rich's comment, I thought my understanding was that it could be cleared. It just couldn't be cleared. You had to be more careful. Am I misunderstanding?
Is there somebody from Penn State that can?
I'm Rich Manning with Penn State Design and Engineering Services. The short answer is, you know, at this point in time, the existing bike path and area is not maintained during winter operations, and that's the intent. Could it be cleared? Yeah, most likely with care it could be cleared, at least down to close to the road surface. We'd want to be careful about scraping off the trail surface aggregate and potential rutting and things of that sort. But that's the short answer.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I understand not asking for it to be built that way right now. Just wondering if that opportunity should arise, that Penn State would need it on demand, ad hoc, whatever. It could be done with some special care. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Any comments or questions from any other members of staff?
All of our comments, except the ones that we typically have been addressed. So we're recommending as well that this plan be moved forward.
And any other questions or concerns from any of the members of the public present? Okay, well, then at this point, I would take a motion from a member of council.
Gotta get back to it. Very thorough drawings, Mr. Manning.
Thanks, Rich.
I'm still flicking through them. Hey, there we go. All right, Madam Chair, I recommend council move to approve the Pennsylvania State University relocate existing bike path near Innovation Park preliminary / final land development plan dated January 15, 2026 and last revised February 6, 2026, subject to the following conditions. Within 90 days from the date of approval by council, all conditions must be satisfied, final signatures must be obtained, and the plan must be recorded with the Center County Recorder of Deeds office. Failure to meet the 90-day recordation time requirement will render the plan null and void. Second, pay all outstanding review fees. 3, address to the satisfaction of the township engineer any outstanding plan review comments. 4, fully comply with College Township Code Section 180-12. 5, provide proof of National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System approval. And finally, all conditions must be accepted in writing within 7 days from the date of the conditional approval letter from the township engineer.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign. All right, with that, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Manning.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, our next item up under plans is the park furniture sketch plan. This is a plan Mr. Toretti will be presenting. Will you be?
I do have a brief.
Okay.
Good, yeah.
Just a brief PowerPoint. So this is the park furniture store sketch plan. We have been meeting a few times with the park furniture folks, and they have been prepared to move forward with a sketch plan. So this has been presented to the Planning Commission at their meeting on March 3rd. The lot size is about 3.6 acres, and the proposed building size is about 40,200 square feet with a 460 square foot delivery area. This is going into a lot that has resulted from the Maxwell Commercial Subdivision Plan that council approved not very long ago. This is just a overview of that subdivision plan. Next slide, please. And I'm sure Mark can get into this a little bit more, but we did review this and we discussed how we're moving forward with form-based zoning and worked with them a little bit to kind of maneuver the building a little bit closer and add some parking in the back, which they made an effort to do that, but ultimately, as you'll see on the next slide, they had to really accommodate all of the big trucks that are going to be in to deliver, and that's why the parking is how it is. The timeline for submission is probably starting in April. They, Planning Commission questioned the number of heavy equipment in the area just on the property as it exists now. They talked about the parking in the existing code versus the draft code. And Pantera pointed out again that they considered some form-based elements, but ultimately the site layout was determined by the maneuverability of the delivery trucks. And they did provide us a rendering of how the park furniture store will appear when you look out. So with that, that's the end of my presentation, and Mark is here if you have any questions.
Mr. Gray?
Thanks, Lindsay. Go back to the overall subdivision first. I'll start there. Also, on behalf of Park Home Furnishings, also have Travis and John Massatelli. They are here with us from Park Furniture, and the brother Matt is watching online. And I just want to give a brief background because there's several steps in this of what's going to be occurring. And I'm going to go up in front here. What's currently occurring is we've submitted a replot with the Christ Community Church, a land swap. The Shallow Commercial Park went back by Christ Community Church, and Christ Community Church property went up in this area. We're doing a land swap with them that pretty much they can use that land better and we can use this land better regarding those two properties. And then we're going to be following up with adding Curtis Coons owns a rental dwelling right around in this area. We're going to consolidate that into this property. And with that, we've added one additional lot to phase 2 of Shallow Commercial Park. So we will be submitting a revised preliminary subdivision plan in April showing that. That'd be the first thing it's in, showing the new lot layout. And then in probably June, we will be submitting phase 2 final subdivision plan for the phase 2 area of Shallow Commercial Park, along with the land development plan for Park Home Furnishings facility. If you want to go to the next slide, then go to the next one then, when it shows the layout. Well, okay, we'll use this one here. Yeah, but basically, we were looking with layout. Originally, we had the store in the back, and we had 3 parking bays out front. We didn't meet with the township staff, and one of their goals was with the form-based zoning is, try to get more parking in the back rather than having a big parking lot out front. And so we looked, and we were able to shift one bay in the back. That helps because there's some customer pickup in the back, and it'll actually be used for in that back parking area. So we were able to do that and work with that. The dictating layout with regards to a lot of this was this is a showroom facility. There's not going to be, it's not a warehouse. It's not going to be a lot of truck deliveries, but still they maybe once every week or two they will be bringing a semi-trailer in, and it's got to get through the site. So we got it, the site laid out where to come in loop here, then back into a loading dock, and then pull back out relatively easily. So that was a big part of us, how the site was laid out on there. And then parking-wise, we did talk with staff. We will also probably be submitting a waiver for reduced parking with a parking study in that they have a store in Duncansville and at Johnstown at the Galleria Mall area, and they probably need around 60 spaces in that range. And the requirement per the current zoning is basically would be for a 4,000 square foot building would be 80 spaces. And so there's some additional spaces that they really don't need, but per your ordinance with doing like a reduction request, we will be providing that space for them if it is needed in the future, so that if they have to be added. And also that parking requirement may end up getting reduced whenever the form-based zoning is passed too. So, that case, that could then just be eliminated on that aspect of it. But in general, it's going to be, basically with the parking in the front. This is the main entrance in here, and there's a loading dock here, and then in the back there is some customer pickup area that's going to be back in this area, and employee parking back in the back area also. And then for the refuse pickup, they can come in back in this area and then just back in and turn around and get back out. So it's also accessible for them with their access. Also, I know whenever we did the preliminary subdivision plan, there was a request to make a connection from Shiloh Commercial Park, especially because the Home to Suites Hotel was up in this corner, pedestrian connection to the Premier Theater property. And so we're proposing to add that to this plan. We were looking at several different layouts and what worked. Basically what we're going to do is just bring the sidewalk in up on this side of the site. That really is what controls the grading and the floor elevation for the store to make it ADA accessible. This is the high side of the site, so we can get the store up higher to help with the balance the earthwork, and then come across, and then we'll be having a sidewalk connection down to our property line. That connection may involve steps, though. There may be a grade change in there, but it'll still get a pedestrian connection on there. The time frame, they're looking, I talked about the submissions, and stormwater-wise, we are working with, there's an off-site basin that would handle the stormwater for this new facility. And then we are looking at, with all the approvals, the MPDS permits and everything, being able to get started in the late fall on this part of the site. And this also opens up phase 2 of Shiloh Commercial Park. The developer in Maxwell will be building the infrastructure for the phase 2 part then, and getting that installed, which that could open up some more lots to be developed. So that's a brief summary. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Does staff have any other comments or questions before I open up to council? Okay, Eric, do you have comments, questions?
Of course. Thanks, Mark. Boy, you're just making our job easier and easier each time you show up.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Hey, a couple of questions. Did I understand that, did you or did you not inch the building any closer to the road?
Yes.
Based on the planning commission's comments?
Well, it was the staff's comments, because basically the last bay of parking behind the building was actually up in front. And so the building was back around 60 feet further towards the back. We moved that first bay of parking, or that closest bay of parking, to the back of the store and moved the store up about 60 feet.
Outstanding. I thought that's what I heard. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And as far as the waiver goes,
Yeah.
I think a sketch plan is a good time to feel out
Yeah.
council on that.
Yeah.
And based on what I've seen from the other furniture store on the other end of town by Lowe's, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
but I think they get away with about 10 or 20 parking spots, so it certainly seems reasonable.
Yeah, my parking studies, I told Planning Commission is, their other two stores have around 60 spaces, and that is adequate. Every now and then, they will have a tent sale. That's probably more why, when they do that, they would need more spaces. But other than that, you're right, it is a low-volume user on there. But that's what we'll be requesting, I believe, the parking reduction per the ordinance, and still provide the spaces if needed in the back. But that'll be kind of the gist of my parking study, was using their other past stores' parking.
Great. Two more, quick.
Okay.
See if I understood what you said. Does the sketch plan represent what you anticipate with a revised subdivision?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're looking at is what you anticipate once you work out the land swap with the neighbors?
Yes.
Okay. And then the last thing, the piece of road and sidewalk that's involved with this lot, is that the only piece that will be built when you, or you already plan to build when you submit the land development plan for this phase? Or will there be a temporary turnaround there, or are you just going to plan to build the road?
Well, Ed Maxwell, basically, the actual final plan infrastructure, he has approval to build that now. That part isn't changing from the, it's just more of the lot layout is what's going to require the revision. But he will build it all at once, rather than trying to stop. Because also, part of this was supposed to serve as a second access for the Home to Suites Hotel. So, until this road was going to be built, there was going to be a gravel driveway, emergency access. So with this getting started and being built here, it'll be extended the whole way up, and all the infrastructure will be built for phase 2.
Excellent. That's all I had. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Rich?
Okay. You answered my one question. Your cover letter said community park. This is commercial park, correct?
Commercial park. Yeah.
Okay. Going to the phase 1, the hotel,
Yeah.
there's the little jug handle towards the
If you
cul-de-sac.
want to go to the next one. Okay.
Yeah. Is that intended to?
This
No,
here.
go up.
This?
Yes, right there.
Yeah, see, I mean, basically, this will connect then
Okay.
to that. Right now, there's, until this is built, the developer is going to build a gravel driveway for emergency access up to them. And
Okay.
that was on the approved plan. So this will actually get the rest of this infrastructure built.
But it will be connecting to that?
Yeah, it will. Uh-huh.
Okay. It doesn't show that.
Yeah.
Can we agree it doesn't show it currently, but that is the intent?
Yes.
Okay. Is that striping back by the HVAC unit, just extra striping?
Well, right here.
Yes.
And a lot of that is more, and we'll look at it more closely, but with the refuse truck being able to back in and turn around and go back out, it needed to be a little bit wider. There is going to be like customer pickup area right here in
Okay.
the back, so there's going to be a little bit of a drop off, but right now, that's what possibly to get the refuse truck in and out,
Plus
that may be.
short-term, temporary, flasher-type parking?
Yes, exactly.
there. Okay, that's what it's used and identified. The big question, Eric said, nobody complains about more impervious when it's a bike path. Nobody complains about less impervious
Yeah.
as long as the use has enough parking.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways on that.
Yeah, and,
Go ahead, no, go ahead.
Well, keep in mind that this is also in the wetland protection zone.
Yeah.
So it only is allowed 60% maximum impervious.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, I'm all, I've said at previous meeting, no developer builds more parking than they absolutely feel they
Yes.
need. So, I'm okay with starting with the cautious and especially based on, seeing other furniture uses
Yeah.
and everything like that. But should that be deemed to be necessary, who determines that? And how does that get implemented if that occurs?
well, I know it's designed stormwater management wise is covered, and I think it's just by having that, if it's determined needs to be built, I'm not sure if this plan gives them approval to do it or not. I don't know. This is the first time I've gone through that
I
process.
think the process, we would.
This would be, the township would have the authority, that's why they have to reserve this space. Suppose this turned to be a busy store and there's cars parking, blocking the street. The township can come forward and say, according to this, you reserve the space, build it now.
Okay.
They-
So
through
perhaps
Travis,
that's
they
a
hope so,
note
yeah.
in the plan saying, just so that it's clear who pulls the trigger and who can require that. Just so everybody's clear today and
Yeah.
10 years from now. Let's see, how did we, yeah, that's all I had. Thank you. Again, we've got you conditioned to coming with sketch plans and not asking for sidewalk waivers. Mark, it's the relationship's
I
going.
was out doing some traffic calming in Lamont after work with my dog, so.
Eric, do you have your hand raised?
Yeah, hey, since Rich brought up the note on the plan, would it be fair to suggest that the jug handle be, that there, a note be placed on the preliminary final when it comes forward, noting that the rest of that road will be constructed as part of that parcel being developed?
I think it's
more a
already
question
on the Home
for
to
staff than
Suites
anything.
plan. I think it'd already be on there.
Yeah, the jug handle is, but the connection to the, I assume when you come back and revise the phasing or lot
Yeah,
lines,
yeah, we'll
that
cover
you'll
it.
connect it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, 'cause
And
if
we'll
not,
approve it
if
as part of
not,
that.
they'll be letting us know, the hotel
yeah,
owner, so.
exactly. It just currently does not connect.
Okay. The only question I have on this, well, maybe the only one, but I'm struggling a little bit to understand the sidewalk access from the hotel that will go past the store
Yeah.
to the movie theater. How will that be clearly defined? Will the pedestrians be coming across the front of the store?
Yes. If
Okay.
you want to go to the enlargement, we can show you. And, yeah, we were looking at that because, basically, this is the parking area of the theater. And this is the property line, so one is, we can't go on their property. But we had looked at bringing something in off of here and coming around this way and then entrance into the middle. But what we want to do, we want to make this ADA accessible without any ramps. And so bringing this up at under 5% gets us to a grade that we need to be for the first floor elevation, earthwork wise. And then we'll just come straight across, and then we'll come down here. There's going to be a little bit of a grade drop down to the property line here, so we'll just come across there, down, and then down there. So if need be, maybe there may be, if you want to have some signage or something out here, some directional signage, but I don't know. We could say to theater property, but there's nothing, there's no connection at that point. But
Right. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking about. I think that, what do you call it, the goat trail? So,
Yeah.
so there will be people at the hotel that will
Yeah.
probably want to go to the movie theater. And I think about that,
Yeah.
the part of the parking lot that's right there. Is that the part that is the road? Is that the end of the parking lot for the movie theater,
Right,
where
well,
people,
this,
the cars drive through?
theaters, this is one parking lot.
Yeah.
The theater's probably right about
Okay.
here. There's parking on both sides of the theater. The entrance drive, and on the other side of the entrance drive
Okay.
is this parking lot.
Okay, so that's not the entrance drive,
No.
so, because the
Correct.
cars that go through the entrance drive and they go back through to the other side.
Yes.
They go fast.
Well, there was that, ultimately, because I did the theater too, there was one platform we did to slow them down, coming through there, which is about where, if they follow through, they will come out and pretty much be right about in that area where that platform is to cross over.
Well, and that's not part of this plan, but
Yeah, I
I'm just,
know,
I'm
but,
just
yeah,
thinking
this-
of the goat trail, that's where the goat trail falls off.
Okay.
But coming back to the plan, yeah, I think it's gonna be really important to make it clear for pedestrians coming from the hotel that
Yeah.
crossing across the front of the store is
Yeah.
part of the sidewalk access, if that's the case.
Okay.
And then I did want to, I appreciate the idea of the sidewalk waiver if that's possible. I don't know the model of a showroom and how that sort of stacks up against a retail furniture
Yeah.
store, whether there's more car traffic. But the idea of less parking and putting it in the back is much
Yeah.
appreciated.
Yeah, you said sidewalk waiver, parking waiver.
Parking waiver, sorry.
Rich probably perked up when you said sidewalk.
Sorry. Watch my words. And then last but not least, there was just one note, and it's about form-based code. The facade of the store has large windows, and one of the things that's called out in form-based code is having interesting facades that catch a pedestrian's eye. And so the opportunity to look in sort of a store a retail space that has a large window, so as the pedestrian is walking through. So, you know, it's not quite form-based code yet, but it's got elements of form-based code.
Good,
And
okay.
it's nice facade design.
Great, thanks.
So, all right. Well, I don't think, we don't need an action item.
No.
You've had our comments. Do you need anything else
No,
from us?
that's all. We just want to get direction. I know they're, Travis and John are here. They're excited to come to State College. You know, they've been
Thank
down
you.
in Duncansville and Georgetown, but they're excited to come here.
So we had a couple of extra comments.
Just, you've already made yourselves known. You sponsored the manager's speech for the chamber. Our award-winning manager appreciates that. He's not here today for us to acknowledge him, so we thought we'd throw that in there. Thank you.
Thank you. You had a comment, Lindsay?
Yeah, I'll just note that the parking in the form-based code could cut the required parking. in
Right.
half. Slightly on that.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming to College Township. Thank you, Mark. Okay, well, next. Our next item, next part of the meeting is reports. Our first report will be a manager's update.
Yeah,
Mr. Bloom,
I'm not used to get to do this, so.
do it.
Obviously, some new updates in the manager's report for you this evening. The one of particular note, at your next meeting, there will be a termination agreement for the PPA in front of you. So, you know, this has obviously been well documented in the press here recently, but just wanted to acknowledge that'll be forthcoming at your next meeting. Path to Campus, our consultant, Rue Environmental Archaeological Consultant, is currently out there and doing work on test pits and seem to be progressing well at this point. So if you see folks out and about with vests on, that's what they're doing. You know, interesting work that they're going through. We did have the tour and assessment by Kimmel Architecture and their sub-consultants here at the building, particularly looking at systems, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, as well as some structural work. Happy to report we got a pretty good grade on that. The systems are holding up well for a 30-plus-year-old building. Certainly going to be a couple decisions to make pertinent to air handlers as we move forward with the renovation project, as well as high-density storage here on the second floor. So there'll be a couple decision points, but overall, I'll take a passing report card from our friends at Kimmel Architecture and Company. And then, you know, the rest of it I will defer if anybody have questions.
Any questions, Rich?
The solar power purchasing, so it's been negotiated to about 135. Is that roughly a third of the original legal expenditures?
Yeah, it's somewhere in that ballpark, you know, a third, 40%. And that includes from the beginning.
Yeah.
Of what the 10-member entities put in, it's right around 50 cents on the dollar, all total, so.
Thank you.
Eric, any questions? Okay. Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Next up is COG Regional County and Liaison Reports. It looks like Parks Gov was canceled this month.
It was, however, we do have a item that was pushed out out of the executive committee and the general forum and all that. But we've been talking about it for about a year or so or whatever. But it's the intergovernmental relationship agreement between the Center Region Parks and Recreation Authority, Center Region Parks and Recreation Agency, and the Center Region Council of Governments and its municipalities. So it's a fairly straightforward document. It's to provide the generalities of how the relationship should operate. There is currently no agreement like this that manages that relationship, and as we found out over the years, in particular with Whitehall, there's some gray areas and opportunities for negative interpretation or, and various other things. So this is an intent as part of the special committee to formalize the relationship between the key players in the Center Region Parks and Rec arena. I believe the manager sent this out to the solicitor for review and.
Yeah, 100% correct. Lewis did have a chance to review this. In principle, he was comfortable with the agreement. Being the cautious fellow that he is, he highlighted that paying some particular attention to item 10, term and termination. And I believe, Rich, you may have some additional context related to that, but overall, Lewis was comfortable with the agreement.
Yeah, the termination language was structured so that we don't create a budget issue mid-year for anybody. We tried to tie, if somebody's gonna leave, they leave as part of a new budget year and everything. So that was the intent behind that.
All right. Eric, do you have any questions?
No questions for me.
What do you need from us? You need for next steps?
Yeah, any particular comments that council had? I wasn't hearing anything of any significant note. It just needs relayed on to Scott Binkley and Christy Owens to just confirm that the township has reviewed and, you know, offers any comments that may be there, so.
Or no comments.
Or no comments. You know, certainly if you wish to pass along that note from the solicitor, you may, but I think Rich kind of answered that question already.
Well, I want to thank you for the work that you've done on this. I know that you've done a lot of work to get us to this point, so, and you didn't have any other concerns or questions? Anything from staff? Okay. I think you have what you need then, yes?
Yeah,
Great.
thank you.
Okay. I think, Eric, did you have the joint Lucy and Climate Action Sustainability Committee meeting this afternoon?
We did.
Okay.
Lucy and Kaz had a joint meeting. There was only 2 items on the agenda. The first was, excuse me, the first was a Kaz committee action item only, and that was to approve the increase, the new monthly rates for residential refuse and recycling for the contract starting in April. A small increase in the monthly charges was approved. And then the second item by Kaz, the second item was a discussion item for both committees, and that was how to proceed with the restructuring that we're all familiar with. The proposal to restructure, in this case, merge Lucy and the Kaz committee. There was pretty much unanimous support for the merger, and we had really reached that point in January. So the discussion was really about how to stage it, and then what the actual duties for the merged committee would be, because that will require action by the general forum. So we had quite a bit of discussion about the staging, and in the end, what we decided, we provided staff with some feedback, and what it amounted to was they were going to go back and between now and May, they were going to put together, between now and May, they were going to formally document what's needed for approval so that we could review that in a joint meeting in May, send it to the executive committee, and then hopefully for action at general forum in the May meeting. And that would be for the action item to merge the committees. The other piece that we discussed was the duties, because as you know, each committee has documented duties that also need to be adopted, and there's quite a bit of discussion there. But the nice thing is there is so much overlap between what these committees do in the sense that, you know, transportation and land use decisions, you know, directly affect climate and sustainability. So we provided some suggested tweaks to the draft duties that staff had provided, so they will come back again at our May joint meeting for final approval and likely included in the action that we forward to executive committee and then hopefully on to general forum. So if it goes as planned, we will become one committee, hopefully as early as June. Now, having said that, we did decide that there would be some actions that would be handled separately through ad hoc committees. You know, like, for example, the process of, next time the refuse and recycling contract comes up, we thought that that would be best handled by a separate ad hoc COG subcommittee that the municipalities would appoint representatives to, kind of like, you know, top people not necessarily on the combined committee. They could be, but they may not be. And there was a couple of other items like that, but we thought that was a lot cleaner and it allowed us to merge a lot quicker if we pulled those tasks out and delegated them to subcommittees or ad hoc committees, some of which may only meet once every couple of years. So that's my report. Oh, yeah, we also had some discussion on what we would call the committee. And my only comment was the fewest letters in the acronym possible.
Yes.
So
Keep it simple.
I'm not sure where we ended up, but I expect staff to come back with hopefully a very concise committee name that only has a couple of letters in the acronym.
Luca,
That's it.
any questions? Rich? Any other? Okay. You had a question, Lindsay?
No, I just
Okay.
said Luca.
Yeah,
Makes
Luca.
sense.
Luca, that would be your acronym, Luca, L-U-C-A.
Actually, I think that was one of the ones that was suggested.
Goes like with Lucy, so. Okay, thank you, Eric. Next up, I did not attend public safety, but I did want to report back to council that I did attend a panel discussion with Laura Fowler's, Dr. Laura Fowler's negotiation dispute resolution class at the law school. And that class has been working with Pam Adams on preparing a tabletop exercise to look at what happens in the region in the event of a longer blackout, similar to what we had in April last year, but looking at how to stress the system and looking for weaknesses in the system. So they've been working with local stakeholders, and they did want to mention that tabletop exercise will take place with COG staff and stakeholders in the class on Friday, April 10th. And that'll be open to obviously members of the municipalities and COG committees. So I can get more information if you're interested in that tabletop exercise. So that was the report from that. Next would be other committee reports. I think that's you, Matt.
Yeah, Matt Fenton, liaison for the Planning Commission. We heard the park furniture thing Tuesday night. We spent quite a bit of time working on the form-based code uses, sort of getting the consultant's definitions and applying to, you know, our township here. And that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
Eric, any questions for Matt? Rich? Mike?
Just one comment. I got a chance today, Matt, to watch the meeting. I appreciate the work that PC is doing and the progress that was made. I have some concerns with some of the meeting dynamics and some of the decorum at the meeting. And I also think we've kind of reached a similar point like we did at the end of 2024, where it might be time for us to shift gears and take a different approach to how we do this, because, you know, we're 2 years in, at this point with the review, and we're close. We're at the doorstep. So have already had some conversations with Adam offline. And I'll be sharing this with Planning Commission to make sure that they're, they're aware of what's coming. But I think you're going to see a shift in how we approach this moving forward. My goal at this point is I'd like to see us find a way to deliver the recommendations by May is what we're looking for. And I think it's doable. At this point. But yeah, there were some things in that meeting that quite honestly were disappointing in watching it back. So I'll have to have some offline conversations with certain members about it and how things went. But just wanted to frame that up and kind of make it aware that we're going to shift gears a little bit here and try to accelerate and get this thing delivered. I think there's fatigue all around for form-based. I can see it in the Planning Commission. I know that I can see it in staff. I think there's an opportunity here to shift gears a little bit and move it forward and deliver it on to council here in a relatively short form. So I'll be communicating with Planning Commission directly, but just wanted to put that out there for right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
I did want to add, I did have a chance, and I do want to say thank you for the work that you're doing, but I did have a chance to see that portion of the meeting as well. And there were concerns. So I think being able to have that conversation with staff and look for a way to get this moving, to the goal as quickly as possible. But a lot of work being done and appreciate that, but this piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, do you have a DEIB report?
I do, thank you. And I apologize in advance if I mispronounce this. Holi, Hindu holiday is March 4th and 5th, so yesterday and today. International Women's Day is March 8th. International Transgender Day of Visibility, March 31st. And month-long observations, Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month, Gender Equality Month, National Women's History Month, Greek American Heritage Month, and Irish American Heritage Month.
Right. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other reports? I don't think so. Okay. Next up is the consent agenda. Tonight on the consent agenda, we have CA1. We have the approval of minutes from the February 19th, 2026 public hearing minutes. We also have the February 19th regular meeting minutes. CA2, we have correspondence. CA2A, we have letter from Pantera dated February 18th, 2026 regarding the time extension for the Crew 814 Phase 1 Final Land Development Plan to June 16th, 2026. CA2B is emails from John Ferguson regarding single-use plastics. CA2C is a letter from First Night State College dated February 23rd, 2026 regarding our donation. CA2D is a late inclusion. This is a letter from Millie Rodriguez regarding the park furniture sketch plan. And CA2E is a late addition, an email from John Ferguson regarding additional FTEs to the College Township staff. Under CA3, we have CA3A, a resolution R-26-10, disposition of devices, and CA3B is waiver request for classic cones. Would any members of council like to pull any items from the consent agenda? Okay, if not, I would accept a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, please same sign. Seeing none, passes unanimously. Okay, next item, we have old business. OB1 is a discussion on the PSU signage ordinance amendments. The discussion tonight is an opportunity for us to hear information from Mr. Jonathan Walker, who's a lighting and electrical engineer at Penn State University. He's sharing his experience and some of the evidence base on lighting, not as a Penn State employee, but as an independent resident of the area. And at the end of the discussion tonight, we will be asked to make recommendations back to staff and to Planning Commission on two different approaches to look at the lighting portion of the signage ordinance amendments that we're considering. And so this is the first portion of other items that we'll be discussing down the road. We'll be discussing the height of signs, but for tonight, we'll be limiting our discussion presentation to the lighting considerations. So Lindsay, you'll be presenting for us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go through the memo and touch on the two approaches, and then Jonathan is here, as you noted, to go over any specific questions regarding the materials that have been provided with your agenda. So since fall, we've been working to update our sign ordinance specifically related to large venues such as stadiums, arenas, and event centers. We're trying to balance the operations with community impact as they are related to light. During the last council meeting, it's been a few months now, but we were staff was directed to consult with a lighting expert, gather some technical and policy information, and then return with the findings to council. So that's where we are tonight. Mr. Jonathan Walker came and met with staff. He's very interesting and very motivated and excited about the lighting, so it was really good to meet with him. He offered his input independently, as Susan noted, and does not represent the official position of Penn State. But for council's review, we included suggestions for updates to council's sign ordinance, to township sign ordinance, two dark sky international documents, one about illuminated signage supplement, and then the other one is about a lighting ordinance update and a template and a user guide. And then finally, how does light impact human health and the environment, and what are some of the current recommendations for responsible outdoor lighting? So those, we feel that, council requested that information, and we're providing it back. Mr. Walker came up with two approaches. One of his first things that he identified is to better define event. So that's one note that he suggests. The second, he notes three concepts, before we get to the approaches. So the second is the differentiation between event and non-event operations, such as, the event itself going on versus a gift shop or a museum or something that's open during normal business hours. And then, of course, lighting standards and measurements that he pulled from some of the signage supplements from the Dark Sky International. So the regulatory approaches for council consideration are the two approaches. One is A, this retains the planning commission's and staff's original position while clearly identifying event and nighttime hours and refining permitted illumination hours. Pre- and post-event preparation would not be included as part of the event itself. The implications would be this incorporates Mr. Walker's input into the current draft ordinance. It remains consistent with original task and scope, and also applies specifically to stadiums, arenas, and event centers. Approach B goes a little bit farther to update all of the lighting regulations for all permanent signs in the township, and it definitely incorporates, fully incorporates Dark Skies illuminated sign supplement. It expands a little beyond stadiums, arenas, and event centers, and addresses the zoning change request and broader lighting policy objectives. And then as we go with lighting and public health, the 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting are noted in your memo, including use light only when it's needed, direct light only where it is needed, use the lowest light level necessary, control lighting duration, and use warmer colors, color temperatures when possible. So as the chairwoman noted, we will be asking for council's input on how to move forward after a presentation from Mr. Walker.
And to clarify, since we have 3 of 5 members tonight,
Right.
this will be a consensus decision based on the 3 of our opinions? How
If you are moving forward with the motion tonight, you need unanimous.
okay. And the motion here, we would be providing guidance
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, it's as much guidance back to
Okay.
staff
So it's-
as anything. You're not really framing the ordinance at this point.
Okay.
You know, for what you have, this is direction to staff to package into what we're going to
Okay.
do with the remainder of changes
So
to the
this doesn't
signage
require a
ordinance.
motion?
No, it's more
Okay.
direction.
All right.
Again, just, and
Okay.
honestly, point of order, if there are things that need action, it's a unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mr. Walker, would you like to address and clarify any of the other issues that were brought forward before we start? And if you would state your name and where you live, municipality you live in.
Sure. Yeah, thank you for having me. My name's Jonathan Walker. I'm a College Township resident, a short walk from here, so, but not in the rain. So my background is lighting and lighting controls, including site lighting, so I'm happy to be a resource for College Township for this or anything else moving forward. So thank you, Lindsay, for presenting.
Okay, thank you. And if you wouldn't mind staying at the podium in the event that council members have questions. May I start with you tonight, Rich? Questions,
Sure.
concerns, comments?
No, as we always say, we're truly blessed to have residents of College Township step forward and help all of us navigate these type things. And your subject matter expertise is greatly appreciated because there aren't a lot of you. If you're asking me which approach, I guess I'm looking at it that it can be both, per se. I mean, we've had the initial request for various things, and as long as we don't hamstring ourselves in one, it doesn't prevent us from doing the second. I did like I very much like the 5 items. That's always the challenge. Brighter isn't always better. Although from a security standpoint, light does make bad people go away sometimes. So balancing that, but we're talking more signage here than security, lighting and everything. So that's a little different animal and everything. You don't need to see it from Mount Nittany for it to be effective. So I'm pretty comfortable with, continuing on the current path with the guidance that we're receiving here of cleaning up our definitions and, just making sure that we're not doing anything initially that would prevent us from doing on the second half.
Eric?
Yeah, I agree with Rich. Full disclosure here, I can see the stadium from my back deck. Clear as day, I can see the stadium, I can see everything. Second part of that is I just got back in town early this morning and I really didn't have a chance to go through the entire packet, so my comments are going to be very general. I agree with what Rich said. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I'd like to see us be able to get the best out of both approaches here. Like Rich said, I like and support the 5 concepts listed under the Dark Sky International. I like the idea of clearly defining an event, versus, I don't know, a non-event. But, like I said, I can see the stadium. I have no problem myself personally if we're going to define an event, allowing for more light or longer time periods of light or whatever the idea is behind the event. That's why I like defining an event. Because I'm not sure that there's a lot of opposition to the stadium being lit up for giant events. Like what Rich said, that lighting, whether it's coming from signage or lighting, it does help. What did Rich say? Keeps the bad people away or something like that. I think there's a safety element to having additional lighting around the stadium for those what are going to be likely massive events. So, to the extent that we can get as much of both of those approaches out of the end result, that's what I would support.
All right, that leaves me. Well, first of all, I want to thank staff for working with Mr. Walker, and I also want to thank you for the work that you've done. And I can see the approach, I see approach 2 as something that I think I favor more directly. I think in part because it's evidence-based and it's grounded in the science. And I think the science is evolving. You're the engineer, but reading back to our ordinance, I think our illumination ordinance, it was last amended in 2002, and there has been more information available. And I have concerns about the light. I think the light for security is very important, but I think those 5 principles address that and talk about the direct light where it's needed. It's more the reflected light. Certainly on a night like tonight, there's a lot of reflected light coming off the light sources up that way. But my concern is also with human health. I know there was an avian health expert or somebody was here last time. But my real concern is, in 2025, the Journal of the American Medical Association published a study that showed that people who are exposed to that artificial light at night, particularly the blue light, do have a much higher incidence of cardiovascular complications, and it's statistically significant. So this is really important to me. So I appreciate that this is grounded in that science, and I think you did a really nice job on your reference document, the suggestions on the signage. I think the ability to define the event gives us an opportunity to collaborate with Penn State and to coordinate that with having it grounded in those best practices, and looking at the color of light and looking at how we measure it. So I think we need to look at it collaboratively, but I also think we really need to stay grounded in the science. So that would be my comments. I don't know if any of those comments are in conflict. I think I'm a little bit more clear about my favoring option 2, but I don't mean to say that in favoring option 2, I exclude option 1. I also wasn't clear on what was previously mentioned and how option 2 would potentially impact or interfere with option 1.
I mean, I don't see it really interfering. I think I didn't consider doing both approaches until now. So, I mean, maybe we could incorporate a little bit of both into our next step.
Yeah, I think if you look at approach 2 or approach B, we could pull some of the event definition and for stadium and arenas and those kinds of things and make sure that that's covered if we go for approach B. We can look at that.
And I think you included a draft ordinance from Dark Sky.
Yes,
So-
two actually.
2. There were the definitions in the one. I think that was a supplement, and then there was actually the ordinance that and those were very detailed. I think that's quite different than the ordinance that we currently have. So what I was wondering there was how that draft ordinance and the concepts in the draft ordinance, which reflect back to some of the science, how would that be incorporated with say, approach A?
Well, we actually had some discussion. A lot of this depends on how quickly you want to address the original request that came forth. It's no secret, we are very deep into this form-based code. To go anything beyond the approach A at this time that he recommended would be probably somewhat time-consuming because it does include a lot of ordinance changes and more research. We had a fascinating conversation with Jonathan, and I agree, I'm on board that this is, if it's not done now, maybe better at the very least, put this on the burner for when things slow down here, then let's jump into this, because this is not going to be a 1 or 2 meeting process to do this in a particular manner. Also, I know some of the previous meetings, we had concerns about negative effects on human health, on birds, on insects. Jonathan was fascinating answering those questions, and that was another one of the reasons we wanted him here, so he could maybe address those sorts of questions in more detail. I found it to be very interesting, and what he had to say from his standpoint, I think sort of alleviates a lot of these concerns as long as it's held to limited to certain times. He seemed to indicate to us that periodic, be it 6, 8, 10, 12 events a year for a night here, a night there, is not going to create enough, and that's why we felt it was important that he get some of that expertise onto you.
And Mark, you're talking specifically about the sign ordinance?
Yes,
with those.
yes.
Yeah, just to differentiate and to be clear, yeah. I think there's a lot of opportunity, in my opinion, to push forward longer term as we look at a lighting ordinance update. But specifically, I think what you're getting at is...
Yes, do we want to take this whole thing on at once, or do we want to address the initial and put this on the burner that as soon as this form-based code is done and there's a little more staff time and a little more breathing time, I think it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor to go into this deeper with the lighting. I just don't know that it's schedule-wise maybe the best thing to do it now with the other things that we have pressing that we need to get through.
No, I agree completely. This is one of those where you end up with scope creep, big time. You know, the original request was about signage. And as long as what we're doing in response to that request is not prevented, our approach B stuff is not prevented by what we do with approach A. And, with it being limited with signage and very few events and everything, I don't feel we should stop the truck trying to get to that. But I think you've illuminated us that we need to look at our overall ordinance and everything, and that's where we would really make some hay on dealing with the health effects. The signs at Beaver Stadium are not gonna, 10 events, well, maybe they have 20, I don't know, but still, 20 out of 365, whereas parking lot lights and all these other things are every day, every night, and everything, and that's when we can really make some difference. So guarding the information that's presented in approach B, guarding, what our implementation of approach A, I think it, keeps us moving forward with responding to the requests. And again, I understand. Beaver Stadium's different. I mean, we keep saying that Beaver Stadium's different, and that's what that's really geared about and everything. And so that's my preference, is that we keep with our work, use the knowledge that we've just gained. I think hopefully you're going to meet with the Planning Commission and share your wealth of knowledge with them as well, but then get on the schedule for sooner rather than later of getting the bigger items of the dark sky and everything like that. Let's not rewrite the zoning ordinance today.
Eric?
Yeah, I was going to, having heard what Mark said, I was going to say what Rich just said. Assuming there's nothing in A that would be inconsistent in general terms with where we might be going in B, let's just get A done. With an eye on B, just like we're doing right now with land development plans in the area of form-based code. We can take that same approach. And then Rich brought something up. Beaver Stadium is different, so as a general comment, we talked about defining events, and maybe this is a question for a subject matter expert. I would hope that even within events, we can separate out Beaver Stadium or something like Beaver Stadium that is so far away from residential areas to possibly have, another tier, requirements. And that's the amateur in me assuming that the further away you are from the light, the less negative impact it is. So it just seems to me in my simple mind that you could possibly have a sliding scale one that would allow, for more, different numbers, for lack of a better term, or a place like Beaver Stadium that's so far away. Is that a reasonable assumption? Is distance a mitigating factor, or does that come under lowest level necessary?
I can speak a little bit on that. I think when we think of a large stadium that has outdoor lighting, when we think about, say, NCAA or professional level lighting, we're talking about 100, 150 plus foot candles, which is quite a bit of light for that event. And that's a much different light level than that's normally emitted for electronic signs of a venue, even of that scale. So really, when we think of things like sky glow, the sports lighting is a contributing factor that is evident, with particularly on cloudy nights. But when you couple that with what's typical for sports lighting, which is shorter wavelength or cooler light, it starts to become more problematic the longer you have that, in the community. And there's some ecological impacts as well. So that's one of the nice things that, in my opinion, I like the 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting, because it simplifies it. It gives us a framework for getting the right amount of light, including NCAA light levels, including lighting mid-block crosswalks for pedestrian visibility, and some of the things we really care about as a community, but to do it at the right way, at the right time.
Yeah, I understand what you said, and there are large event centers, in large urban areas, immediately surrounded by people and residents. What I was asking was, is there a difference in the negative impact based on the distance from that sports lighting?
Specifically for residential?
I guess I'm not asking this the right way. It just seems to me that if you have a stadium that is miles away from a residential area versus one that's buried in an urban area where, thousands of people live around, wouldn't the lighting have a different impact on those folks further away? I guess that's what I was asking.
Yeah, one way to think about that too is research is ongoing. So I think there's a lot of research that takes a while to develop that then informs consensus-based ANSI and IES recommended practices, which is often what I refer to. But I would say that the amount of light, when we think about blue light at night, sometimes we hear, that affects your circadian rhythms, which is true. So the recommended for people in a couple hours before, you normally sleep is to limit your exposure to light to very low light levels. So when you think about a large event venue that's miles away, it's unlikely that that amount of light would trickle into somebody's window and affect their circadian rhythm at that level. It might be nuisance lighting. I'd have to look a little bit more into that, but that's my first thought.
Okay, that answers my question. I guess it wasn't very clear, but as long as we factor that in as we move through this, I think that's important.
So I think, in order to wrap this up, unless there are any other staff comments or questions?
I just have one thing to throw in the event and non-event kind of stuff, being in property management. The maintenance, you occasionally have maintenance events where, you need to make sure your stuff works before your big event, audio visual guy or something. So is that can that be, or is that factored into potential definitions or anything?
We can put something together, and you said, I look forward to discussing more of this with Jonathan.
Okay.
And hopefully, in the future, when we go into a deeper dive into the lighting, we seriously consider trying to secure services, because he's very easy to work with as well.
Okay, thank you. So I think for the purposes of what we need to do for staff and for Planning Commission this evening, what I'm understanding from the members of council tonight, we favor moving forward with the ordinance changes and the amendments that we talked about, looking at the we're actually looking at it through the signage ordinance rather than the illumination ordinance. And my question, I do have a question. Because the signage ordinance points to the illumination ordinance, just to help me not be confused, are we talking about embedding some of these illumination standards into the signage ordinance as a part of this first step, and then we're going to go back and revisit and amend the illumination ordinance? Is that?
That would be
That's what we're
my
saying
take.
tonight.
And we were under the impression that we wanted to get this first request done and try and do this as short, sweet, and simple as possible, with the intention of coming back and doing a deep dive and covering everything in its entirety with the
Well, and I would argue that I don't think it should be short, sweet, and simple, because I think it's a very impactful issue. On the other hand, I'm one of three tonight, and I think it's really important to recognize that the consensus decision right now amongst the three of us is that we are looking at the signage ordinance, somehow crafting some of what you're talking about as what's coming out of the science, particularly the dark sky and the professional organizations, but that we need to work very quickly after this is done to refine that illumination ordinance. And at that point, it may impact the signage ordinance, and it might actually create some things we'll have to navigate in terms of maybe some differences in terms of, but I think, you asked about the event planning, Rich, and looking at that, the recommendations that you had made, and to your point about the maintenance part of the events, a lot of that is called out in the information you gave us. So it sounds like you'll be working, is it right to say that he'll be working with staff and Planning Commission to do this work?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I think, moving forward with the approaches, and then, holding off on the second part of this, which is the illumination ordinance, and get that, get this moving, and then directly after move that, because if there are any references or anything that we have to update in the illumination ordinance, because of what we're doing in the sign ordinance, we'll take care of that as well.
Well, and I think we have to be mindful, because if the illumination ordinance has any kind of restriction that impacts the signage ordinance, that's going to create a conflict between the two ordinances. And if there are plans being made, particularly around Beaver Stadium, based on that signage ordinance, and then the illumination ordinance changes, that creates another challenge for us. So
point.
I think we need to keep that in mind.
But I think we run into that anytime we look at any of our ordinances. There are people that are in existence doing things now that they might not be later if we modify the ordinance. And I think that's why we were saying if we could incorporate some of the elements in to any changes we make on the signage that hopefully mitigates that more so.
Good
But
points.
So just so I'm clear, we're looking at approach A primarily with the signage ordinance. That's our front focus.
At this time, yes. But then also a quick turnaround when we have more ability to accommodate the review of the illumination ordinance. Oh, Eric. You're off. We
You're
can't
muted,
hear you,
Eric.
Eric. Sign language now. Go with sign language.
I thought I heard that from Lindsay and Rich, though, that we were open to, and staff could potentially handle any low-hanging fruit and the lighting ordinance that seem to make sense at the same time we're doing the signage. That we were just postponing the deep dive into lighting. But we would be open to, I mean, is that within,
I'll just speak for myself, that I was saying that the learning that we have now gained in approach, potentially taking on approach B, that those low-hanging fruit be brought into our review of approach A, you know, so that we don't preclude accidentally unintended consequences, all that good kind of stuff. But, you know, we've gotten a little bit of an education. Let's try to apply it to approach A.
Mike?
Yeah, and honestly, I think where I'm at is it's a little bit of a hybrid. And I think as staff, you know, clearly, you know, the first step is approach A, is what I'm hearing in terms of a consensus here tonight. And I think you're right, Rich and Eric, I'm just reframing it, is as staff is looking at approach A, you know, one option is to just embed that directly into the signage ordinance. But if there's opportunities to amend the lighting ordinance while we're doing that, that doesn't foul ball the network that's going to be coming on approach B later, I think take the opportunity while you have it. And I think that's maybe what you were just saying, Rich, is if there are references between the sign ordinance and the lighting ordinance, let's take a look and see if there's a way to approach that in the lighting ordinance now. That way we don't have that issue with conflict between the two ordinances. And that's, I kind of view it as phase one of a two-phase project at this point. We know, and I heard clearly from the members here tonight, that we want to take the next step to approach B. We want to be responsive to the requests that we have on the floor right now, particularly around event centers, and try to get that moving forward and do that in a phased approach. That, you know, we'll look at the lighting ordinance while we're doing that to address the signage ordinance request. And if there's a way to mesh those two together, that's the secret sauce if we can make it. So
Yeah, that sounds good. And if we can sort of mesh in a little bit of B with some A, we'll definitely look into that too. If you would have any, you know, further input on how to kind of hybridize those.
And one of the things I like about what Dark Sky has developed is because sometimes lighting is hard for folks to understand and verify. But one of the things that they do is make it relatively straightforward. You can use a normal light meter and kind of get a pretty quick sense if the signage is complying with the ordinance or not. So that's what I like about approach B. Thank you.
Just one last question. I think staff has what you need. Thank you for your final summary and for your comments, Rich and Eric. That was helpful. So I think that what Mike said is the best summary of what I think we're trying to intend tonight and give you direction as long as they're
we're just taking natural steps towards approach B, trying to address a request that tipped us off here. So.
Yeah. Thank you very much for all the work that you've already done. It's helped us all. I mean, clearly staff, and certainly it's helped me and Rich and Eric, so we really appreciate you taking that time. We look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone. OB2, the next item up is a discussion of amendments to chapters 87 and chapters 200. At our last meeting, we approved amendments to ordinance, the chapters 87 and 200, looking at conditional use and zoning, particularly with regard to data centers. And since that time, there have been some further refinements that have been identified that could be made to bring these changes more in line with what we were discussing and talking about at our last meeting. And so the action items that we're going to be asked for tonight would include two motions as I see it. We would be looking at the discussion of the changes, and then we would also be asked to make a motion to advertise an April 16 public hearing on these draft ordinances, the draft ordinance. So two separate motions at the end of discussion.
And I'll just add a little bit of additional context and then details with Lindsay here as we do the deep dive. And I appreciate you framing it the way you did. Yeah, honestly, as we came back around and looked at what council approved ordinance 2602 at your last meeting, just reframing that intent. The intent was to make amendments to make data centers a conditional use in zoning districts where they were otherwise a permitted use by right. After review and some discussions here in the community, we identified that there were some errors in what was brought forward that resulted inadvertently in that ordinance not meeting that intent. So what we saw in that was we needed to come back, and we needed to clarify and rectify some of those issues. This also provides us an opportunity. So staff's taking an opportunity here, so we wanted to get your reaction to this. In that approach to identifying those conditional uses for data centers, one of the things that we wanted to try to apply were some specific conditions related to what are often the biggest impacts related to data centers, that being most notably water and energy consumption. So that's what's baked into the draft ordinance. It would be 02603 that's included behind this memo. So that, yeah, you framed it very well, Susan. I made some notes there in the memo about what actually is happening in terms of those changes. But timeline and procedure, where we're at, the changes that we would be making would trigger another 30-day review period to go to Planning Commission, College Township Planning Commission, as well as Center Region Planning Agency. It seems that they're going to be able to do that as a administrative approach within staff. And sets us up for another public hearing at the April 16th meeting. The step that we would be asking in terms of you advertising tonight would ultimately make this then a pending ordinance. So in order to make sure that we have an ordinance out there in circulation that is consistent with that original intent, that's why we brought it back so quickly to you, is to have this discussion and get us to the point where that becomes a pending ordinance because you have signaled your intent to advertise. So with that, I'm going to stop. I know there's detail behind the cover memo, but wanted to kind of reframe exactly what our intentions were this evening.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Okay, I first want to say, sort of missed the mark on this one, and I want to apologize for that. But the way forward is here, and as Mike said, it allows us to sort of capitalize on another opportunity, and that is to have some strong recommendations for conditions regarding infrastructure and energy when it comes to data centers. So the original intent was to take data centers that were permitted by right in the office commercial, the commercial, and the industrial zoning district, and change those to conditional uses. Somehow rural residential got in there, and the intention is to remove the use of data centers in the rural residential zoning district. So that's what this ordinance in front of you will do. It will remove the permitted uses by right from the tables of data centers, and then add data centers as a conditional use to those same tables, and then remove data centers as a conditional use in rural residential. Ultimately, just allowing data centers by conditional use in the commercial, office commercial, and industrial zoning districts. And commercial, anything in office commercial is also permitted in commercial. So if you don't see data centers noted clearly in the table, it's because all uses permitted in office commercial are also permitted in the commercial zoning district.
Okay. All right. Any other comments from staff?
No, we're interested to hear what council has to say.
Yeah, that's next. Eric, comments, questions?
Yeah, thank you. Mike, sometimes things happen for a reason.
Yep.
So, I think our efforts were so noble here that we were granted an opportunity, and I've also been around long enough to know how important it is to have a pending ordinance. So given that I think we have covered the critical pieces needed right now, I like the idea of moving forward with the public hearing, with the draft ordinance, even if we have some issues that we're not, smaller issues that we're not 100% comfortable with, because of the importance of establishing a pending ordinance. That's it for me.
Rich?
Yeah, I don't miss a lot of meetings, but I did miss this meeting. Candidly, I wouldn't have caught any of that. I don't believe I would have caught this. Thank you for falling on your sword for that, but there was a lot of eyes that looked at this, and apparently we missed the mark on everything collectively and everything. So, living document. This is not the first time we've come back quickly to rectify what we saw as a shortcoming in this. A little different with the the rural residential versus the C2 and industrial and everything, but good to come in there. I do like the addition of kind of spelling out some of the infrastructure conditions. As I understand, a conditional use, we can apply whatever conditional use conditions we want to that, but I think it behooves everyone to have those put forward in advance. The only comment I had, I think it was number 4 under infrastructure. It was on page 3 of the, no data center shall be approved without sufficient water. What does that mean? If there's a way to expound upon that potentially. And then, was there anything with electric? Because that's, the grid, like the grid, able to have that. One of the big things that they're pushing is that these shouldn't come online and then it creates increased costs for the surrounding and everything. So it's just, it may not be just water and energy consumption. It may be required infrastructure, or that they need to be responsible for any required upgrades to the energy network. So just offer those thoughts. But I guess, as Eric indicated, good that we get this on, and I think we can work through those things.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
No,
Susan. 2 points. One, we did run this through Lewis. I neglected to mention that. Lewis was comfortable with what we have, our solicitor, for those watching online. And yes, we investigated language, particularly around electric. This is cutting edge in terms of what's out there. So we kind of picked the middle ground in that language, but we can certainly go back to that well. There are some examples out there, some white papers that we looked at as we were putting this together. So I think there's some things we could add as you go through this process and move towards a final adoption. This, like I said, this language is in there now is kind of a middle ground. Do nothing was not an option as far as we considered, and it pains me to say that. But yeah, we wanted to find something that at least acknowledged it, and then have this discussion this evening.
All right. I mean, other than, I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the comments on the electricity and the water use in the amendment, in the revised amendments. And I think too, again, I would say thank you very much for your apology, but this was a group effort. So it's cutting edge, and it's the first that anybody is doing. So I think it's going well. So
I do see Eric has his hand up.
Oh, you have your hand up. Mike has been telling me all night you have your hand up. I haven't noticed. Eric.
You're muted again, Eric.
Eric, I'm getting there, thanks. Yeah, Lindsay, no need to apologize here. I mean, we're moving at 120 miles an hour with this, and it was thrust upon us, practically out of nowhere, I guess. But like has been said, a pending ordinance that says sufficient water and conditional use is better than what we have right now, And I suspect if we can get this thing advertised for a public hearing, we may get some suggestions. I'd be surprised if we didn't, in those directions. So again, Lindsay, I'm very happy with the speed and what staff has managed to put together in a short period of time to put us in the position that we are. And I suspect the other municipalities won't be too far behind us on this, so thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, so actually, I think we only need one motion for this at this point. You have the feedback you need on the draft ordinance. Do we need to make a motion on that draft ordinance? I don't think so. Okay, so the only motion we need right now is to authorize staff to advertise an April 16th public hearing on the draft ordinance 0-26-03, which will amend chapters 87 and 200 of the Township Code pertinent to data centers.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. All right. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, staff, for
Thanks,
all the work
everyone.
you put into this. A lot of work. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the last item in old business. This is an opportunity for council to provide comments, and staff will craft this, I believe, in the form of a letter that will come back to Public Safety Committee with regard to potential municipality concerns on changes in Beaver Stadium use. So this is specifically related to the weekend of the ice hockey game, January 28th through the 1st, and multiple events over the course of the weekend, and some concerns that have been brought forward. So we had asked at Public Safety that municipalities each contribute comments. And I do want to just let you know that the March Public Safety Committee was actually canceled. We had no action items, and only College and Township would be offering comments. So we've gone back and asked the municipalities to bring those comments back as asked at our February meeting, and we'll discuss them in April. So I'll open up the discussion. Eric, if you could give us your thoughts. I think this is a draft that I think Adam and Mike worked on for us.
Yeah, I will give Adam his due here. Most of this is Adam's language. I just tweaked it a little bit. The body of what would be the letter is included here, and some additional background. Obviously, it ties back to the discussion at Public Safety, particularly around the winter sports weekend, but it's also an acknowledgement of a well-known approach where Penn State is moving towards making Beaver Stadium and the facilities more active and more events. And College Township just happens to be the host of most of these venues. Over that winter sports weekend, there were 19 events on campus. 13 of those were held in Penn State facilities located here in College Township. Particularly on the days of the 30th and 31st of January, there were 4 or more events held each day in College Township. So the comments themselves are framed around past practice, the capacity, particularly the capacity to handle traffic, that known intention of the future use of Beaver Stadium, and the need for traffic planning and contingency planning, particularly around parking, should we have weather events like we did during the winter sports weekend. The impact on emergency response and volunteers, this scale of an event and events is wonderful for our community. It's obviously part of the economic engine, but it also stretches a small community, relatively small community, when it comes to the ability to respond and the number of volunteers that are there. So what we're looking for ultimately out of council tonight is thoughts on where we're at so far with the body of the letter, anything you wanted to add, anything you wanted to revise. It's really open play at this point for you, but we did want to take seriously the request from Public Safety and provide some comments back.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, so I understand the process. We're forwarding this to Public Safety, and are other municipalities weighing in, or is this just kind of being vetted through Public Safety?
So right now, it'll go through Public Safety, so each municipality, so Patton has prepared comments, College will prepare comments. the borough has not yet had an opportunity to put it on the agenda. Ferguson hasn't put it on their agenda, and Harris hasn't yet. So this will give them, another month will give them an opportunity to do something along the lines of what Patton has done. And then that will give us an opportunity for discussion and possible recommendations to the executive committee.
Okay, so the recommendations would be a consensus from all the municipalities?
With regard to concerns and perhaps opportunities to collaborate with intercollegiate athletics on some of the changes, communications around events, some of the traffic impacts that both have been brought up at Patton Township and also at College Township. So, you know, this creates the opportunity to look at these events differently because it is a different stadium use, and going forward, how might we do things differently in collaboration with the university and intercollegiate athletics?
Okay, well, that's good, because from my standpoint, I think immediately, in the immediate area, you know, once people get there, it's in Penn State's best interest to do the best job they can, you know, handling the flow and having all those people on site. And from my observation, they did a pretty good job of handling everyone once they got on site. I think our role is, as you noted, how many of these event centers are in College Township, should be focused on the traffic issues, you know, approaching the stadium, whether it's traffic, buses, whatever, and of course the impact on emergency management. So to the extent that our concerns are accurately represented here, and they're going to be joined with those from the other municipalities, and that's going to be the focus. I like what you put together here. The only tweak I would offer is the Friday night, there was an event at Agula and at the Jordan Center at the same time. Now, capacity-wise, that exceeds 20,000. However, the Jordan Center was not at capacity. I don't know if that was because of traffic or what, and we had gridlock. So I just wonder if that 20,000 should be, suggestion could be a little bit lower, because I think they would have had the same, I think the impact would have been similar even at half the capacity of the Jordan Center, given that the events were not happening at the same time, so they were dealing with 6,000 people exiting the Gula Center and 12,000 entering, trying to enter the Jordan Center at the same time. So sometimes it's not necessarily the number as it is the staging of the events that causes the downstream impacts, you know, as far out as College Avenue and 322. So that's my only suggested edit to this, would be, you know, take a closer look at that 20,000 number, or maybe some language about specifically how events are staged to minimize those upstream or downstream safety impacts, or traffic impacts, which are safety impacts. Thanks.
Rich?
Yeah, I agree. And this weekend is shaping up for about the same, because they have hockey and wrestling and all that good kind of stuff. So timing is good. They'll get another crack at it and everything. But yeah, I mean, not all events are created equal. So 10,000 to one type of event might be 20,000 to another type of event and everything. So it's really how people are getting there into the facility and everything is critical. And then I did like seeing, one of the concerns was access to, with Mount Nittany right off of that road, making sure that there's no question availability on that. The big thing, I mean, they've got so many lessons learned from a lot of football games and everything. It just, they seem to forget those for these other things. And if they just use most of those or some of those, I think they could do themselves a lot of favors on that. But I mean, that's the big, it boils down to traffic. And I think I shared at a previous meeting that for the hockey match, it was cold out. And so everybody's like, I'm gonna go at 11:30 for the 1 o'clock puck drop. And everybody's has the same idea, fighting to get into the same space. And it just doesn't work. So as users, we could do better, but we can't regulate that very well, so.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think that we can't regulate it, and then the football games are good because the users know what to do in addition to the staff knowing what to do. The users are very well practiced at this. Yeah, and again, I focus a lot on the, well, the traffic, yes, but also the public safety, particularly in terms of access to the medical center. I know that the Penn State emergency management coordinator talked with public safety about the emergency services site inside the stadium, that they have hospital bed capacity. And so, you know, maybe a better understanding of that, because this is the one place where, you know, the Center Region and Beaver Stadium are a unicorn. And we even use that word in the meeting. We're a unicorn in the Big Ten, and this is a plan that is being implemented across the conference. And so we're sort of inversely related to public safety resources in terms of the size of our stadium and the number of people. And then I think the numbers of events. We didn't have anything like the numbers of people coming in for a football game, but it was the timing of those events and the planning. I think Adam did a really great job putting this together and expressing his concerns as well. So, yeah, I think if there's anything else that needs to come out of the comments that could be added, I think it would be fine.
I think there's, you know, college is unique in this, in terms of having this be a regional comment, because you're exactly right. We're the host for the vast majority of these. So this isn't just a regional conversation. I think it's also a college, township, and ICA discussion as well. This boils down as far down as permitting of events, and it's something that we've had some discussions with Penn State on. It's just going back to Rich's earlier comment, we've got a well-oiled machine in football. The community knows what to do with it. The traffic plans are in place. PennDOT's there. Our emergency services know how to handle it. It's when we vary away from that, but we're still doing these large-scale events that we get into trouble. So if they can start to replicate some of those models with traffic planning in particular, it starts to alleviate some of those concerns. And that's just, in my mind, that's kind of the overarching message to them. And, you know, for us, again, on a local side, the permitting of events and stuff, we can replicate the same way. Football is handled one way with permitting, but then some of these other events we scramble on, and they scramble on. So I think there's lessons to be learned across the board and how to kind of standardize and template events. So, but no, I appreciate what Adam put together. I appreciate the comments that have been here, and I do know Eric has a hand up.
Hi, Eric. That's Mike's job tonight. Watch Eric's hand.
Thanks. You know, Rich said it, and then Mike said it again. Everybody that I talked to said the same thing, so maybe we should say it in here, you know, about they've got a plan. They use it 7 or 8 Saturdays a year. If they didn't, you know, dusted off that plan, things would have gone a lot smoother. So it seems obvious, and you know, almost to the point where, you know, we don't have to say it because, you know, it should be obvious, but maybe we should say it. Just a thought.
Well, and the Luke Combs concert, Adam mentioned the Luke Combs concert, and that was different because it wasn't intercollegiate athletics, and because the event planner was responsible for the traffic planning, they didn't use the Penn State plan. So maybe there's some discussion of that as well, because they will be bringing in events that are not going to be run by Penn State. So how are they going to be working, you know, more closely with those event planners?
That's a really good point, because a lot of these same problems happened during that concert.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it wasn't an issue of snow removal or weather. It was not applying the resources necessary, you know, to mitigate the issues.
Penn State can't delegate
Right.
all that. It's happening on their property. so.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's the point, they can't tell them to do that, but they are going
Well,
to be
they
bringing
can,
this.
but they can't let them operate in a vacuum. There's nobody that has more experience than Penn State does in facilitating those type of events.
Okay, that takes us to new business. We have 2 items to discuss tonight. The first is the new position for the CTIDA, the Economic Development Specialist. Carrie?
Sure. Included in your packet was a memo regarding our recommendation for the creation of the Economic Development Specialist position. The background of that is the creation of the Community and Economic Development Department, and my moving into the director of that position has created a void in service for the Industrial Development Authority and the administrative work there. So it would either leave them with nobody to do that work, or it would take me away from planning and zoning, housing, and parks and rec, and all those additional things. One of the key things I left out of this memo is that the IDA will pay, the township invoices the IDA, and the IDA pays. So the IDA would be responsible for paying the wages and those supplemental employee benefits and things that go along with that. So this position would be a part-time 25 hours a week economic development specialist. Obviously, the role of economic development coordinator position is still listed under the org chart. However, if you look at the job description of that position, it does not fit what we're talking about here. And so that is what lends itself to the creation of this specific position and job description, is really looking at the administrative elements of what the day-to-day needs are of the Industrial Development Authority. So included in the memo was the draft Economic Development Specialist job description, as well as the proposed modifications to the 2026 wage range schedule to add that position. We've been talking about this at the IDA for the last 3 months. So this recommendation and the job description include the elements that have come at their request and will be included in the contract for services. So I'm currently updating that contract for services, so you will see that come back down probably in the next meeting or 2 once we finalize some of that information.
Thank you. So I neglected to mention, this is an action item, and we will be asked to approve both the job description and the change in the wage range. So those will be motions we'll need to make. Eric, do you have any questions or comments for Carrie?
No, this is kind of replacing what the IDA used to purchase in regards to staff, township staff support. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I will still be acting as the executive director from the high level standpoint for the IDA. So they will still have some hours of mine involved. They won't be paying for those because it's included as part of the economic development part of this department. So this part-time position will take the administrative piece away from the work that I'll have to do for that.
Right, and we've always been providing that, right? I mean, not from you, but there's always been some level of staff support that they've had to reimburse the township for. Is that correct?
Yeah, those will continue. The finance department, we contract services from the finance department, as well as meeting minutes from the executive assistant, though that will probably roll into this new position. This new 25 hours a week person will be responsible for attending those meetings and taking minutes, which will alleviate some of Katie's time from the IDA.
All right, that's what I was asking, and I got my answer. Thank you.
Rich?
I support the position. I have concerns that we're flat out saying this is the IDA's position. I feel we've had a good run, as you mentioned, to the finance department. They contract for services with the economic development department, and how you allocate your resources in that to meet those needs seems more appropriate over the years, there's been claims of your time as solely IDA times, and I think it behooves us to stay consistent that you're contracting services from the township, here's what they are, how we decide to do those is on our side of the house.
Yeah, and it's envisioned that this is a township employee.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they'd be
clearly,
contracted
we're
out.
paying it, but then when
Right.
you look at the job description, it's very clear, or the way it's written currently is that it's solely,
Dedicated.
Yeah, if the council would prefer that reference is removed in terms of being a direct IDA, we can certainly do that. The conversations with the IDA have been made very clear that they're contracting services.
Great.
They're going to be evaluating the services that are provided and not specific personnel. And part of that was why it's under my direct supervision,
Yep.
is it creates another level of separation from the IDA's understanding, so.
Right. Yeah, it's the duties in support of the department, which may include, those kind of things. That's the only, the job description looks pretty specific that it's doing stuff for the IDA, and that should be at your direction.
No, I think this is a part-time position without benefits.
Correct.
Okay. So insofar as making the motion, Rich, are you comfortable making a motion to accept the job description, approve the job description, which is, I think, what we're being asked, with changes made as directed?
Well, I threw this out, I'd like to hear staff's thought, how it might.
Okay.
Does it need tweak? How would it be tweaked? All that kind of stuff, I'm not directing, I'm just offering a concern, because over the years we've seen this, is that if it's not made clear that the township is providing, one individual is providing these services, the township is providing these services for these various elements. And as long as, if I'm the only one that has that concern with the job description, how it's written, then it's not a showstopper for me.
Yeah, this one I would, in my opinion, and I can be convinced otherwise. This one is a little different than how, we utilize Carrie, for instance, and how we utilized Katie. Finance is kind of set aside. That's a function that they still work through. This is as much about freeing capacity on the township side by taking those dedicated administrative responsibilities that have always been baked into those positions and saying, okay, IDA, we're giving you 25 hours of a staff person for those specific things, and we're not intending on using them otherwise within the township.
That's my concern.
Okay.
I think we should have that flexibility.
Okay. I see where you're going now.
Yes.
I wasn't connecting the whole way.
Yes, that's my concern, is that Carrie and the township administration should have that flexibility, that they're, oh no, that's my time, and
Right.
that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, because I don't want there to ever be you have them attend something, or, well, they shouldn't have been there, or whatever like that, that kind of thing.
I can see ways to tweak this to accommodate that.
I think there is honestly, I think there is.
I think adding words such as it's anticipated that
sure.
This individual will
Such
be
as.
20 to 25 hours dedicated to the IDA, but not.
The other part of the
Dedicated.
concern is, let's say the position's vacant, so this work doesn't get done.
Right. Right now, yes, it will get done, but.
Right, that's what I'm saying, is.
Yeah.
The work is going to get done with or without this position filled.
Right.
Because the contract is with the township, is with the Economic Development Department. They'll make it work, and they'll rally around the flag and have people doing minutes and, whatever it takes.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of thing.
No, it took me, you drilled through, Rich, I finally got there.
Hey, I'm gonna steal Eric's hands up.
No, I appreciate Rich bringing that up. I think that's a really good point, especially given that Carrie just said, and it sounds like it's consistent with the expectations of the IDA. They understand they're contracting for 25 hours of work, right? doesn't matter if half of it's done by so-and-so and half of it's done by the new position. Am I understanding this correct?
They're contracting, they actually will not be contracting hours necessarily. They're contracting the services of minutes, record keeping, those type of things. So
Right.
really the hours, they'll get billed for whatever hours this person works doing the IDA work. So they'll get an invoice for whatever those hours end up being. The idea is that they're
Right,
going to be
but
25.
that could be 20 hours from this new position and 5 hours from you, or whatever, right? Like Rich said, the work's gonna get done. Why not position the township to have the flexibility, that we're talking about here? Should a particular item be done by someone else and free up a few hours from the specialist to do something else? I don't know, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but I like the suggestion. I would certainly support a motion, as long as I think I understand Mike would know how to, staff would know how to amend the job description accordingly. I'd certainly support that motion.
I think before we go there, I just want to clarify. I'm thinking that, the way the job description is written, it's written for 25 hours per week. And I think if I'm understanding what you're saying, Eric, that maybe we would say, well, we're only going to have the development specialist do 20 hours a week because we have another staff member doing 5 hours of minutes or something like that, versus 25 hours as the allocation for this position. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, the position's gonna have 25 hours, period. How those 25 hours are expended is on their supervisor, and everything. That's the only thing that I'm suggesting, is we want to maintain the flexibility that the duties of this 25 hours economic development specialist fall solely within the economic director's purview.
The only question then to that is a budgeting standpoint. So if any of the hours are expended on non-IDA work, that will fall on the township in terms of pay. So
Well, again, in your
keeping that
contract,
in.
you're going to contract for X amount of dollars. That dollar amount might happen to equal 25 hours of this person's time. How it actually gets used, they might get a bargain, and you supply 5 hours at twice that, and everything, and kind of thing. So the contract with the IDA will be, a dollar figure, and how we execute that, and the reality. Money is fungible. There we go. How that gets applied in the budget is in the contract is.
Yeah, I think I understand exactly where you're at, Rich. They're buying 25 hours at a given rate.
They're buying X number of dollars of service.
Right. Yes.
I would take the hours out of it.
I got you.
Because are you gonna stop working at 25 hours if it takes you 30 hours? It may, when the position first starts up, until they get up to speed.
Until they train up.
Right, and the township is committing to covering that learning curve and stuff. Your cost is X.
Yeah, and I honestly think, regardless of hours, it's a bargain, because they are getting uncharged carry time.
I was gonna say,
You're gonna be
you guys do
directing this
way above
person,
that.
and-
There's no question in my mind.
I think there's
Your time, Adam's time, everybody's time, because you operate as a team.
Right.
Even Mark contributes, you know what I mean?
I believe there are tweaks that we can make to this job description, understanding that provide for that flexibility. I believe there's a responsibility to the IDA too,
Yes.
as they recognize that they are purchasing something at a certain value. And most likely it's going to fit those duties and responsibilities as assigned. But if we're in a position, like you said, where someone's out sick, someone's, off on leave, or the position's empty, someone on staff is gonna fill that. And they may be at a different rate. Could be Carrie, could be Katie, could be me. I don't know that it would be Adam. But one of us is,
Unless there's a technology thing, he might get involved.
yeah.
So in terms of the motion, are we Are you prepared, should we make a motion to accept the job description as amended based on comments tonight, or do you want to have this amended and brought back?
I'll throw this to,
Yeah.
I trust staff that they can
Okay.
tweak it accordingly. They understand where we're coming from and everything.
Yeah, I think there's some modest changes that we can make, particularly in the position summary aspect. You know, the duties and responsibilities aren't something that necessarily need to change. It's mostly in the summary, just to clarify. And then the wage range, I think that's fine too.
Yep.
So I think modest changes and we'd be ready to go.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with where we're at.
All right, then I would accept a motion. You want to propose the motion?
Eric is looking to make this motion.
No, I think Mike's example was perfect, you know. What happens if someone's sick or on vacation, or we're in between specialists, you know, the work still needs to be done. We need to build in that flexibility. So, yeah, I move to approve the job description as, and wage, or job description as appropriately modified around tonight's discussion, and wage range for the new executive development specialist position.
Economic development?
I'm sorry, economic development specialist
Executive
position.
Okay. Would you like to second that?
I would second that well-crafted motion.
Oh, I thought it was well-crafted too, thank you. All right, then all those in favor on council, please say aye.
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 And anyone opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries, the well-crafted motion carries unanimously. The well-thought-out and well-crafted men. Well, that brings us to our last item in new business tonight. This is a discussion of a proposed work on the railroad crossing on Mount Nittany Road. And Amy, would you like to take it from here?
Sure. So the Bellefonte Railroad Historical Society reached out to the township. They are proposing to do some work at the Mount Nittany Road Railroad crossing. The information in the packet, if you look at it closely, indicated that they had planned to do it in 2025. I don't know why they didn't, whether it was available funds, volunteers, money, I don't know. But they did decide they wanted to do it this year and again have reached out to us. In the information they provided, they are asking the township for some things. First of all, they would like to have permission to close Mount Nittany Road for up to 3 days, and they've conveyed that to me. That's kind of a worst-case scenario. They believe it's only going to be about a day, maybe 2 days worth of work, but they thought if anything happens, they would like to have permission for the 3 days. That being said, they also are asking for the township to provide a dump truck and driver for the 3 days, a backhoe and an operator for 3 days to haul away the material that has to be dug out. And then once they work the rails and the actual crossing that they will be responsible for, they've asked the township to, basically put the pavement back in. That again is what I've provided in my memo is probably a maximum cost. And again, that's full 3 days. If they don't need us all 3 days, shouldn't be obviously as much. But I have gone through some past projects of rail work, pavement, and our charge rates, and estimated the cost could be approximately $7,500. So that being said, I did talk with the road and water superintendent to verify, because the other thing is this time of year we're starting to gear up for our own projects, and I wanted to make sure that we actually could fit this into the schedule. And talking with Wade, he felt we could do that. It shouldn't be a problem. They are asking for it to be the week of April 6th, weather permitting. They wanted it to be 3 days, most likely in the middle, so we're talking Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that week. We could work that. School is still in session, so we would have to communicate, basically the detour around the site. And detour does happen. The Mount Nittany Road can be skirted with Berry Alley and Harris Alley through Lamont. They're alleys, they're not roads, but it's other roads like Dale Street does not have an easy detour around it. So that being said, we think we could, make that work with appropriate signage, which is why I estimated a little bit on the road closure detour, because you're gonna have to have your type 3 barricades and all your detour signs put up. I did ask if they felt they could open the road at night after work, maybe plate it. They didn't think so. We do have a plate. If it can be, we will, but we're going to assume the worst at this point is that we would have to keep it open overnight. Barricaded, of course, but not open to traffic. So council is being asked to provide or consider permission to close the road and establish a detour for 3 days. And then also the expenditure of staff and the resources as requested and presented in my memo. I thought I was gonna have someone here online or something, but I do not. So I told them I would pitch hint for them, and if they could be here, to answer questions. So I will do my best to answer questions. I am not a railroad engineer.
Thank you, Phoebe. So before we get started, will this require a motion because we will be approving the expenditure? Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
the
think
answer
it
is
probably
yes.
is best,
Yep,
yeah.
it's
Okay.
yes. Okay,
Yes.
I wasn't sure what amount we need to have.
It's not something that was otherwise budgeted, so. yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay, thank you very much. Rich?
I'm sorry if I missed this in a previous or anything like it, but what is the goal of the work?
Oh, okay.
What
So-
are they?
My understanding from the sketch that was provided, they need to dig out the crossing, so they'll basically excavate the asphalt away from the rails. And then they plan to build a box that will be fit in between the new rails that have to go in. And then they actually have to cut the rails and replace the rails. The one sketch shows about a length of about 34 feet. That's what the whole, and it's on the granary side, that is where most of the work has to be done. And then once they've done the box and filled it back in and put the rails back in, they do have some tie work that they're going to do as well. But the actual road crossing, obviously, is what we're most concerned about because it's where we have to close to traffic. Did I answer your question? I'm not sure
Sort of,
if I
kind
did.
of. Yeah. So
I'm not railroad engineer.
No, I get it. But so, do they take engine trolleys, whatever, up through there now, and this makes that safer, or this allows it to occur when it's not occurring now?
I don't know. I believe they did bring the train in last Christmas time or last fall or something.
was my
like that.
recollection.
We do have the mayor of Lamont on, and she may be able to answer that question. But yes, I do believe they did, and this was scheduled maintenance, if I'm not mistaken. It's not necessarily a project per se, other than they need to maintain the tracks.
Okay.
Sue, did you have
And
comments?
it's their tracks to maintain.
My understanding is yes.
I'm here, whoops, let me, just a second. Oh, shoot.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay, yeah. I was just trying to get a hold of Margie Svoboda, who's the chair of their board, because she could certainly answer better than I could. They did have tours last fall. There are some safety issues with the track and replacing the track. So I'm sure that this is something that really needs to be done. We haven't heard from them about the Strawberry Festival, whether they're going to do speeders, but they did have the train. The train can only go to the edge of Mount Nittany Road. It cannot go across that part of the track. For some reason, that's where they stop.
Okay.
Well, that
So
hadn't
there
been
is
conveyed to me, so I
something
wasn't
wrong-
sure.
There is something wrong with the track between, that crosses Mount Nittany Road, so it sort of needs to be done.
So it's expanding
I'm sure that they'd be as
service.
quick as they could be, I don't know.
Nope, I get that. That's kind of what I need. So we're potentially adding usage, service and everything. So in
Right.
looking at the estimate,
Right.
really the majority of these are sunken costs, with the exception of the asphalt, that would be
Right.
incurred
That'd actually be a
out of
purchase,
this.
right.
Yeah. So, that's about $1,000. And
Right.
as long as it doesn't take away from more pressing or priority work of the public works staff, I don't have an issue with that.
Well, and when we close it for our events, Mountain Indian Road is closed, and people seem to manage getting around without too much problem, as long as it's closed above Harris Alley, so that people can use the alley. That's the main thing.
Eric?
Amy, I know you're not an expert, but did you stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night?
Yes, I did know.
No, I support the work of the BHS. Those are really fine people doing some dedicated work, volunteers, and as Rich kind of fleshed out, our contribution, when you look at the net expenditure, I think we get a pretty good return on that. The box that they're putting in, it's hard to tell from the description, but it looks like it's going to be filled with ties. There is a box upstream of that's concrete. And I was just curious if that's what they're going to put in. There's a railroad crossing, there's a pedestrian-only railroad crossing where the box is, where the space between the tracks is filled with concrete. Maybe just a question for maybe the next time you have a conversation, is that what they're planning to do? And the reason I ask that is upstream from that, the crossing at Decibel is pretty deteriorated. The asphalt is crumbling around and it's a pretty rough crossing. So I was kind of curious as to why the one at Mount Nittany tripped the threshold ahead of Decibel. But I think what I heard tonight was they apparently can still cross at Decibel with the train, because that one, they have to cross that just to get the Lesser and Center Concrete. So it must, the tracks must still be in good shape there, even if the asphalt around it is deteriorating. So, no, I support it. I think the detour will be a challenge for things like school buses and delivery trucks. But again, I think the return is worth it.
If I may, I think I can answer a couple of the questions. We did talk to them about concrete because if you're familiar with the transfer road station or crossing, that was originally concrete, and the rail company came in after we had paved the approaches and did actually do concrete. That is a different entity. That portion of the rail is the CEDACOG or joint, yeah. So the Bellefonte Historical Railroad has their section is, I'm going to say, somewhere beyond Center Concrete back into Lamont. So there are two entities that own different sections of the track. We did talk to them because we would love to have this be concrete, and that is not in their budget at this point. So it will be asphalt between the rails for the crossing.
So just since you brought that up, I mean, what would be the incremental cost if we provided the concrete? If they would prefer it and we would prefer it and it's just not in their budget, I mean, would it be worth having a discussion with them that we might pay the extra $1,000 for the concrete?
We certainly could ask them of that. I would have to price it out, yes, you're right. And also definitely make sure we've got someone who can work the concrete. Placing is one thing, we've got to make sure that it's placed properly, which it sounds like we probably could do that. I think our crew has that ability, so.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to defer to you and Bellefonte. It was just a suggestion for consideration based, on the observations and our experience. And I will add that they don't need to apologize for putting this off for a year. I mean, how many years have we been waiting for CEDACOG and PennDOT to do the Struble Road crossing?
This is true. This is true.
Now, I think we ended up okay because now it's dovetailing better with our stormwater plan. But anyways, that's all I got.
Okay.
Well, your thoughts on the concrete?
Oh, I'm all for it if,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, we
I
can-
don't have any problem with that. That'd be on top, yeah.
So then I think we'll push this to old business. We'll need you to price it out.
I don't think so.
We're comfortable with
Yeah.
any additional expense?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
I'm ready to
All
make
right.
a motion if you want.
Okay, please do.
Move to authorize staff to complete the requested Bellefonte Railroad Historical Society work and the associated costs under the direction of the township staff.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of the well-crafted motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Amy. Thank you. Thank you, Sue.
Oh, you're welcome. I don't know much about the track, but it does need work, so,
Okay, well, thank you for helping us tonight.
okay.
Just as
I
a,
couldn't say I was freezing, so I had to put my bathrobe on. The air conditioning was on, I think, in the College Township building.
All
just,
right.
just as a side note, I serve on the Joint Rail Authority as Center County's representative, and we have split from CEDACOG, so we aren't a part of CEDACOG, we're now just the Joint Rail Authority.
I will add, she does have the hat to prove it.
that
Okay.
Somebody provided.
All right. Okay, well, that wraps up new business. Our next item is staff informatics. I think anybody's had a chance to review. Any questions from council? Okay. Are there any other matters from council or staff? Okay, then I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay.
Okay, we're adjourned.